I was on a flight from Dubai to Sydney. An American passenger was seated next to an Australian man. The American looked at the flight path on the screen and said, "Wow, this is a long flight." You know, if the world were arranged more logically, Australia would be closer to the US.
It's just bad geography. Someone should have planned the continents better.
The Australian just stared at him, speechless for the rest of the flight. I witnessed an American tourist at a Shinto shrine in Kyoto, Japan. He saw people tossing coins into the offering box and praying. He walked up, pulled out a dollar bill, and tried to stuff it into the box. When a shrine attendant politely stopped him, he got defensive. "It's $1. It's worth more than their little coins. They should be happy to get it. I'm giving a better donation than anyone else here." He completely missed the ritualistic aspect and saw it as a simple financial transaction. I was managing a hotel in the Swiss Alps. An American guest called the front desk in a rage because the TV in his room didn't have the channel for the Super Bowl. I explained that it was 3 a.m. our time, and that American football isn't broadcast on standard Swiss channels. He replied, "But it's the Super Bowl. It's the biggest event in the world. You guys should be legally required to show it. It's a cultural necessity." He genuinely believed a sporting event in his country was a global holiday. An American exchange student at my university in Germany was arguing with a history professor. The professor was discussing the complexities of post-war European reconstruction. The student raised his hand and said, "You're making it too complicated. America wrote the Marshall Plan. We paid for everything and we fixed Europe. That's the whole story." He refused to accept any nuance or acknowledge the agency and efforts of the European nations themselves, framing it solely as an act of American generosity. My company in Seoul hired an American manager who was baffled by our hierarchical respect for elders. During a meeting, he repeatedly cut off a senior Korean director, calling him buddy and telling him to get to the point. Later, he complained to me, "No one here seems to have any good ideas." I tried to brainstorm, and they all just sit there silently. He couldn't grasp that his public disrespect to an elder had shut down the entire room's willingness to engage with him. An American was visiting a friend of mine in a small town in Finland during the winter. He was shocked to see parents leaving their babies outside in strollers to nap in the freezing cold. He threatened to call Child Protective Services, yelling, "This is child abuse. You're going to kill your baby." He refused to listen to explanations about the cultural practice and its health benefits, insisting that American parenting norms were the only safe and correct way to raise a child. At a public health clinic in Canada, an American tourist came in with a sprained ankle. After being treated, he went to the front desk and asked, "Okay, so who do I pay? What's my copay?" The receptionist explained there was no charge. He became suspicious. "Nothing is free. What's the catch? Are you going to send me a surprise bill later in America? We know exactly what we're paying for. This feels like a scam." He couldn't accept the reality of a universal healthcare system. An American was on a guided tour of a protected rainforest reserve in Costa Rica. He asked the guide, "So, when is the best time to see the monkeys? Can you call them or something?" The guide explained that they are wild animals and sightings are not guaranteed. The American scoffed. "At Disney's Animal Kingdom, the animals are always out for the guests. You guys should manage your wildlife better. It's bad customer service." I worked in a bookstore in Oxford. An American came in and asked for the fiction section. I pointed him to it. He came back a few minutes later annoyed. "No, I mean like American fiction." All of this is by British people. I don't want to read about kings and tea. I want to read about real life. He was in one of the oldest university towns in the world, and was upset the local literature wasn't centered on his own country's authors. An American expat in my apartment building in Barcelona was evicted for repeatedly using a loud, heavy-duty charcoal grill on his small balcony, which was against the building's rules and a fire hazard. His defense to the landlord was, "This is my constitutional right. The right to barbecue is part of the American pursuit of happiness. You can't take that away from me." He was attempting to apply the U.S. Constitution to a Spanish rental agreement. While visiting the DMZ between North and South Korea, an American tourist looked over at the North Korean side and said to the tour guide, "Why haven't we just gone in and fixed this yet? It seems pretty simple. We could turn that place into a democracy in like a year. It just seems like a lot of standing around when America could solve the problem." And he viewed a complex 70-year geopolitical standoff as a simple task the U.S. had just neglected to do. An American was at a public sauna in Helsinki. He walked in wearing his swimming trunks. When an older Finnish man pointed out that saunas are traditionally experienced nude and with a towel, the American said, "I'm not taking my shorts off in front of other dudes. That's weird. You guys should be more modest. In America, we have personal space." He then proceeded to lecture the Finns on proper locker room etiquette. I was at a train station in India when I saw an American woman arguing with a station employee. Her train was delayed by an hour. She was screaming, "This is unacceptable. I have a schedule. In the United States, the trains run on time. I'm going to report this to the American Embassy. They need to know how you're treating their citizens." She seemed to believe the embassy was a global customer service hotline for her personal inconvenience. An American was on a business trip in Japan and was invited to a dinner where the host served him fugu, the poisonous blowfish that is a delicacy when prepared by a licensed chef. He refused to eat it, saying, "Why would you serve something that could kill you? That's the stupidest food I've ever heard of in America. Our food is regulated by the FDA to be safe. This would be illegal." He framed their culinary tradition as a failure of government oversight. At a quiet historic library in Dublin, an American tourist was told to silence his phone. He took the call anyway, speaking at full volume. When the librarian shushed him again, he said, "It's an important business call from the States. It's the middle of the day there. The world doesn't stop just because you guys want to read old books." The idea that he should adapt to the local environment was completely foreign to him. An American was visiting the Netherlands during tulip season. He saw the vast, colorful fields and said to a local farmer, "This is beautiful, but it's not very efficient. Is it? You've dedicated all this land to flowers? In the Midwest, we'd have this whole area planted with corn or soybeans. You could feed a lot of people with this land." He saw a national symbol and a massive export industry as wasted agricultural potential. I was in a cafe in Italy when an American family sat down. The father tried to order a pepperoni pizza. The waiter brought them a pizza covered in pepperoni, which are bell peppers. The man became irate. "This isn't pepperoni. It's vegetables. Pepperoni is a meat. You guys invented pizza. How do you not know what pepperoni is?" He was yelling at an Italian waiter about the definition of an Italian word that had been co-opted and changed in America. An American tourist in Cairo was looking at the Great Pyramids. He turned to the guide and asked, "So, which corporation owns these? Is it like a government contract or a private company?" The guide explained. They were ancient monuments belonging to the Egyptian people and world heritage. The American replied, "So, there's no CEO, no one to complain to about the lack of amenities. That's a weird business model." An American was working in our London office and was confused by Boxing Day. "So, it's a holiday the day after Christmas. What's the point? In the US, we just go back to work or hit the sales. It seems like an excuse to be lazy. Why don't you just combine it with Christmas?" He couldn't accept a national tradition that didn't have a clear productivity-oriented purpose that he understood. While trekking in Nepal, an American in my group was complaining about the lack of Wi-Fi in the mountain tea houses. How are we supposed to upload our pictures to Instagram? It's like they're living in the dark. Ages. Someone could make a fortune putting up some cell towers here. The Sherpa guide just smiled and pointed at Mount Everest, saying, "We have a different kind of connection up here." An American was at a performance of traditional Aboriginal music in Australia. After a few minutes of the didgeridoo, he leaned over to his friend and said loudly, "It's just one note. When does the song actually start?" In America, our music has verses and a chorus. This is just a noise. He was judging an ancient musical tradition against the structure of Western pop music and found it lacking. I was on a bus in a quiet English village when an American tourist started a loud video call with his family back home. An elderly woman politely asked if he could lower his voice. He responded, "I'm sharing your beautiful country with my family, ma fleur. You should be happy about the free publicity. I'm basically a tourism ambassador." He saw his disruptive behavior as a generous act of promotion. An American student in my Spanish university class insisted on writing all the dates in the American format, MDDY. The professor marked it as incorrect, explaining that the rest of the world uses DDMY. The student argued, "But the American way is the standard. It's what's on all our software. You should be teaching the global standard." He was convinced the format used by his country was the default for the entire planet. An American was visiting a public beach in Brazil, where many women were sunbathing topless. He went to the lifeguard to complain about the indecent exposure. He said, "There are families here. In America, this would be illegal. You need to enforce some rules here." The lifeguard just shrugged, completely baffled by his demand to impose American puritanical norms on a Brazilian beach. At a market in Thailand, an American saw a vendor selling fried insects. He recoiled in disgust and said to the vendor, "You can't seriously expect people to eat bugs. That's disgusting. You should sell hot dogs or something normal. You'd make a lot more money." He wasn't just expressing a personal preference. He was giving unsolicited business advice based on the assumption that his palate was the universal measure of normal food. An American was in a German supermarket and was flabbergasted that he had to pay a deposit for a shopping cart and bag his own groceries. He complained to the manager, "Why do I have to do all the work? In America, we have people to bag our groceries for us and the carts are free. It's called customer service. This is so primitive." I was at a memorial for the victims of the atomic bomb in Hiroshima. I overheard an American teenager complain to his parents, "This is such a downer. Why did they put a museum here? It just makes you feel bad. They should have built a theme park or something fun instead." He was unable to comprehend the purpose of solemn remembrance, viewing the historic site only through a lens of personal entertainment. An American tourist in Iceland was on a tour to see the Northern Lights. The lights were faint that night. He demanded a partial refund from the tour company. "I paid to see the Northern Lights and I barely saw anything." In America, if a show is bad, you get your money back. You can't control the weather. That's not my problem.
It's false advertising.
An American was attending a cricket match in India. He kept asking his local host, "So, when is Halim? When do the cheerleaders come out? This game is so slow." He then tried to explain the rules of baseball, insisting it was a much better, faster game that they should consider adopting. He was a guest in a country obsessed with cricket, and decided his role was to explain why their national pastime was inferior. An American was in a small French village and was upset that all the shops closed from noon to 200 p.m. for lunch. He said to a shopkeeper, "Don't you people want to make money in America? We eat at our desks. We're open 24/7. This is just lazy." The shopkeeper replied, "Sir, we do not live to work. We work to live." The concept was utterly lost on him.